and welcome to my little informal video series. I am hosting these to provide tips and tricks on how to work remotely. And today I want to focus on managers. So if you are managing a team remotely and this is new for you, this is a video for you. So you're new to working remotely. Maybe you have a team of 5 to 10 people, and usually you are managing them remotely, and maybe once or twice a week. Odd person works from home, that kind of deal. That's what most people deal with nowadays. But suddenly everybody's working from home all the time and you're adjusting. And for some people, this is a huge adjustment. So if you're the type of manager that has always worked closely with people in an office, you see them, you see what they're doing, you can check in with them, several times a day around the water cooler, pull them into a meeting whenever you want to. You're used to having that kind of interaction with your team. Working from home and being remote is a very different beast. So for you now, you're probably thinking, okay, I have to adjust to not seeing the team, feeling disconnected from them, not necessarily knowing what they're doing, not having visibility in the work. And, if you're a micromanager, you're used to being very involved. You're probably feeling a little nervous that they're not working or they're not meeting their deliverables or that your projects are going to fail. So there's various ways to handle that. And because I want to keep this recording fairly short, I'm just going to talk about one, but I probably will do a few more series around this in the coming weeks. So watch my channel and you can have that insight as well. So today I want to talk about checking in with your team. So if they are new to working remotely as well, they will probably start feeling isolated. They might have they might feel despondent. Some people get very depressed, especially as they're very social. So I did a recording last week around working from home. You can check out that video. It's very long, but there are some good tips around what to do when you're working from home. But for you guys, what I would suggest you do, or a good trick to managing your team remotely, is to implement some weekly check-ins. And I would say start with weekly and get them used to that and get those online relationships comfortable, and then switch to bi-weekly or maybe monthly, depending on how your team's doing. So the first thing that I would encourage you to do is hold a meeting agenda. And what I do is I put together a shared meeting notes document with whoever I'm working with. And in this, basically just, Greg and Pat's meeting notes. And in that, I would put the date and the time that we met. So it becomes a record of your meetings. And then I would have a series of questions and have them input those answers before the meeting. So the document's always shared. I tell them, please get your agenda items in there a good 24 hours before the meeting. And that's just because it forces them to think about the questions a little more, and you get more productive meetings out of it. So the first question I would ask is, give me a status update. And in this, whenever they fill this in, they might put in bullet points about what they worked on in the past week. When you're meeting with them, you ask them to talk through those points, and then you're asking questions like, so how did that go? Were there any problems? Do you have any blockers right now? And that's where you kind of get to everything that they're frustrated with, people aren't getting back to them or whatever. So what I do is I usually split that in a table. So I take whatever they wrote down and I make that one column, and then in the column next to that, I put my notes in. You might want to put your notes separately in a different document, but I like to keep everything in the same document. I'm very open with my team, so everything's very transparent, and my notes are for them to see. And the notes I'd be keeping is, what they did, how it went. If I have any action items, like follow up with so and so because they're not getting back to them, so on and so forth. So that's the first part, and that part of the conversation usually takes 10-15 minutes because they're telling you what happened and everything that they need help with, any questions they have. You can do all of that stuff in that part of the meeting. The second part is, what were the successes? So in this part, I'm usually looking for 2 or 3 bullet points where of their wins. Okay, so I'm asking them, what did you do really well? What were the things that made you happy? What do you think were your major achievements? So you're looking for opportunities to give like positive reinforcement, make them feel good about their work and their achievements in the past week.